When I think of tonight's species, it's the diversity that stands out. This fish lives on reefs, structure, and can be found on the flats as well. Its big black eyes and rubbery lips allows it to see and eat crabs at will. Tonight, we're talking about permit on the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report. We know it's been super hot out there and we're in for another summer heat wave this week, but the only way to beat the heat is to get that bite. And man, Rick, everything has just been on fire.
We have been killing it.
We have been killing it.
We have.
Both of us. High
Yes.
five. Just
Offshore.
kudos to Udos.
Inshore.
Offshore and inshore. Well, let's say hi to Dave Farrell at CCA Workbench to give us a peek at what he'll be talking about today.
I've been killing it too.
You have been
Inshore,
killing
inshore.
it.
I heard
Inshore.
you caught a big bass.
Caught a nice big bass the other day in Lake Toho. Should be fishing in a tournament tomorrow, but I ain't gonna make it.
That's okay.
Lucky for those guys.
Lucky for them. Well, Rick, it's all about permit today, and last time we went fishing for them, I learned a lot about the differences in how they feed and where. So can you give us a little extra insight on that?
Certainly, Bree. You know, you find them on the channel edges in 4 to 6 feet of water. Most of the time, it's at the high tide. We're going to talk a little bit about this in the rigs and techniques, but the big thing about it is they're really fun to catch no matter where you encounter them.
And they're beautiful once you get them to the boat, too.
That's right.
That's right. All right, starting us out in the Casa Vieja Southeast region is Captain Jimbo Thomas with some options when it comes to getting that permit bite. Let's hear it, Jimbo.
You got it. Well, you know, most fishermen think of permit as an inshore fish found on the flats, but there's plenty of them caught on the offshore reefs and the wrecks. Now, regardless of where you're fishing for them, they can be caught year-round. Then in the spring, around the full moons of March and April, those permit will school up to spawn on the offshore wrecks in anywhere from like 100 to 50 to 100 feet of water. And on the calm days, they can be spotted flashing or mooning near the surface. They're also commonly caught off the beaches and in the inlets throughout the region. But by far, the most popular way to hunt for permit is on the flats. Now, when the wind blows and it pushes that sargassum weed in close, the permit can be found along the edges of the flats and the channels, and they'll be feeding on small crabs and shrimp that are holding in that sargassum weed. And then when that wind drops out and the weed doesn't get pushed into the bay, that's when it's best to look for them tailing, mudding, or just cruising on the flats. Look for the flats with hard bottom that holds crabs, sea urchins, and other crustaceans that those permit like to feed on. And regardless of where those permit are, the best bait by far is a live silver dollar-sized crab. And very rarely will a permit pass up a crab that's cast in its path. Now, also live shrimp, pink, 1/8 to quarter-ounce skimmer jigs, and crab pattern flies, those are great permit baits. And our good buddy Captain Joe Gonzalez says that the ideal permit fishing day is light wind in the morning to fish the permit pushing wakes and finning, and then have the wind pick up to about 12 to 14 miles an hour. And when that wind kicks up, it allows for improved sight fishing with less glare. And lately, he's been finding permit on the inside and outside flats from Soldiers Key south to Angelfish Creek. He's been fishing the hard-bottom oceanside flats in 2 to 4 feet of water. Then around the Ragged Keys, he's been finding schools of 7 to 12-pound permit on the incoming tide. Now, staying inshore, from Lake Worth Inlet south to Government Cut, the snook have been biting like crazy. You want to get out to your local inlet in the evening and drift live baits on both the incoming and outgoing tide. Although if the water's real clear on the incoming tide, they're not going to bite as good. So if the water's murky, it doesn't matter which way that tide's going. Now, just about any good live bait will work. Herrings, pilchards, pinfish, croakers, whatever live bait you have around your inlet. And fish the live bait on a Jupiter rig with 40-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 5.0 to 6.0 circle hook, and then jigs with soft plastic tails and flare hawk jigs bounce along the bottom. Those are also getting snook bites. Now, some of these snook have been up to 25 pounds. Don't forget that snook are catch and release until September 1st. Now, moving offshore, the good news is that we're finding dolphin on a daily basis, but the bad news is that they've been very finicky and on the small side. I think the finicky part's coming from this full moon that we had earlier in the week. Now, the fish have been anywhere from 300 feet on out, with the best areas being around 1,000 feet, We've been finding them around scattered weed, floating debris, and turtles. And there's been a lot of turtles out there, and the dolphin are following those turtles. And most of the times there have been birds working over the top of the fish. Now, a few of the fish are being caught on the troll with rig ballyhoo and small lures and feathers, and then on small cut baits like bonita or ballyhoo, and also small live baits. Now, the larger fish, they're going to be the first to bite when you hit a school, and they are the biggest because they're the most aggressive. And then once the size starts shrinking down, you want to move on, look for a fresh school. Now, I got a photo here. This is a 30-pound dolphin caught by Scott Forte. He caught that this past 4th of July. Now, also, the nighttime snapper fishing has been excellent throughout the region, especially for mangroves. There's also been some mutton and yellowtails mixed in. And with this heat, getting out in the evening, that's not a bad idea. Now, the snapper have been hanging on the outside reef in 40 to 80 feet of water and are being caught on dead sardines, silver sides, and pilchards, fished on the bottom with a knocker rig. You want to use a 20 to 30-pound leader, either mono or fluoro, 1/0 to 3/0 circle hooks. Now, Captain Ryan Ormston, he's the captain aboard the Reward Party boat out of Miami. He's been fishing along the outside reef line off Government Cut. He's been finding mangroves from 2 to 6 pounds, and that the best bite has been after 10 p.m. in the evening. There's also been pilchards and goggle eyes coming up in the lights, and that they're catching those on sabikis and putting them back down for bait, and the larger fish have been on these fresh live baits. But he says that the lemon and bull sharks have been a real problem trying to get your fish past them.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. Way to start us off. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region. Inshore snook, look in the inlets and around the jetties using live baits and flare hawk jigs, and then offshore dolphin, look around the weeds and floating debris in 10 to 12 miles offshore.
All right, we're now going to chat with our Strike Zone Northeast region Captain Tommy Derringer via FaceTime. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's happening?
Well, you know what? Unfortunately for us up here, we don't really have much of a permit thing going on in the Strike Zone Northeast region. Most of the ones that are caught are from the guys along the beach that are surf fishing. But what we do have along the beach is we've got some tarpon. So let's talk about that. You know, the tarpon have been fired up all week in the pogie pods from Mayport all the way down to Flagler Beach. It's mostly been an early morning thing because once that sun gets up, those tarpon are going to go down. Now just look for the pogie pods that are getting busted, and then free line or float a pogie on a 7/0 VMC circle hook right around the edges of those bait pods. Now, I've been using the VMC 7385 circle hook with really great success this year. Now, there's also quite a few big tarpon behind the shrimp boats, and once that pogie pod bite shuts down, it's probably a good idea to go behind some of those boats and check them out. They seem like they like to dump their bycatch about mid-morning right now, and a lot of times that's when you're going to want to be there. That's when you're going to see those fish. Now, there are also quite a few juvenile tarpon in the Palm Coast canals right now. Again, that's going to be an early morning bite. The Rapala Twitch and Mullet has been a really good choice for those smaller tarpon lately. Also, a free line live shrimp is going to work well. Either way, I would stay light on your leader, maybe a 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. That's going to be the best way to go because those fish can be a little finicky. Now, I've got a photo here, one of those big tarpon. This is my man, Taylor Lunsford, with that big tarpon he caught with me this week out of one of those pogie pods down near Matanzas Inlet.
Nice.
Now, also inshore, you know, the redfish bite and the backcountry stuff, it's been a little slow with the hot air and the water temperatures we have, but the bull redfish, they're chewing really good. The St. Johns River near Blunt Island and Mill Cove, they're holding those big reds this week. The inlets, bridges, and some of the nearshore wrecks, they're also holding some of those fish. Now, you're going to want to fish the bottom with a fish finder rig with either a half blue crab, cut ladyfish, a live or a cut mullet on a bigger 5 to 8/0 circle hook, depending on that bait size. Now, the best bite's going to be as the tide slows down a bit on either low or high water. Now, you can still fish them as if the tide's ripping, but you're going to have to use some really heavy weight because you do want to keep your bait right there on the bottom. I spoke to Captain Buzz Brandon from NortheastFloridaAngling.com. He's been fishing those big reds a little differently. He's targeting the edges of the channel in the St. Johns in about 8 to 10 foot of water. He's using a little lighter tackle and a 3/8 ounce jig head with either a mud minnow or even a soft plastic, and that can be a little sportier for those guys that like to toss artificials. Captain Buzz sent me a picture. This is Dave Bingaman, who's a big fan of the show, with one of those big bull reds he caught with Captain Buzz in the St. Johns River.
Nice.
No.
Well, thanks for sending those pictures in, guys. Go ahead, Tommy. What do you got offshore?
All right, well, offshore, the mangrove snapper, I'm sure a lot of the guys are going to talk about that. After the full moon last weekend, those mangoes are still fired up. I spoke with Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com. He tells me they've been catching a bunch, and they're pretty big ones, too. He's mostly fishing in the 100-foot-plus depths, but he said they can be caught in a little shallower as well. He's targeting ledges, and he's chumming them up to the surface using cut sardines or cut pogies. Jason said that current's been ripping, but if you can time it when you get out there and it slows down, those mangoes are going to be really fired up. Now, one tip Jason gave me was, he tries to hide the hook or his jig into those chunks of bait when he drifts them back as much as possible, because those mangoes, they're pretty smart, and you want to make it look as natural as possible. You're also going to want to probably use a little lighter leader in the 20 to 30 pound range. Now, those mangoes are running 6 to 10. Even I saw one this week that was like 12 and a half pounds, so some big mangoes. Now, offshore also, the kingfish, they held the ACGFA Kingfish Challenge this past weekend, and there was some really big fish caught. Now, the water has cooled down quite a bit on some of the nearshore stuff with a little bit of upwelling we've got going on. So a lot of the anglers went deeper to find some of those bigger fish. I spoke to one angler who easily limited out a couple days ago in that 21 fathom depth, so pretty far out there. Now, there's still some smaller kings on the nearshore stuff as well, but they're definitely thinning out a little bit from the past few weeks. Hopefully, we'll get some onshore flow, get some warmer water to move back in. It'll bring those fish back with it. Now, I've got one last photo. This is Dito Nelson and his crew from the ACGFA Kingfish Challenge this past weekend, and that's Kaysen DeGrand with his winning 48-pound fish from the juniors division. So, way to go, Kaysen. Congratulations.
Good job, dude. So awesome to see those kids doing it. Tommy?
I mean, they caught some big fish, man. It was impressive.
Well,
for him.
we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for
Bye,
everything.
All right, guys.
All right, so let's take a look at the hot spots from the Strike Zone Northeast region. Inshore, bull redfish in St. Johns River near Blunt Island and at the St. Augustine Inlet. As the tide slows down, look for them. And then offshore, mangrove snapper in 80 feet throughout the entire region on ledges and wrecks. Chum them up to the top with cut sardines or pogies.
You just love those snappers, don't ya?
Oh, I saw that big
I
picture
know.
and I'm like, look at that
snapper. You're obsessed. It's all right. Coming right up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're headed to the Central West region and then going to visit Dave at the CCA Workbench. Dave, what kind of permit techniques you got over there for us?
I don't have any. We're going to let
None?
Rick tell us about how to do it because, that's where they live, is
CCA
where Rick
Workbench,
lives. Ain't too many of them living in Central Florida where I live.
All right, well, we'll look forward to Rick then.
All right.
We'll be right
Bye-bye.
back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet. Q-Max, maximum saltwater protection. And Sea Sucker, get pumped.
Hello, welcome. So Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
Oh gosh. A lot of pressure.
You ready? Go.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Ranking. 10 best blah blah blah.
2017 IIHS Top Safety.
Only about 90 more to go.
2016 2017 North American Car of the Year.
That's a lot of awards.
Who would have thought?
Great, now I'm gonna have to go buy a new car.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. Let's now take a look at the FWC news and notes. August 5th, you can attend a PS boating course in Palm Beach, and August 14th, there's another PS boating course in St. Petersburg. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now it's time for Rigs and Techniques.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and Dave, every week we talk about rigs and techniques, and it looks like you put me in the hot seat, huh?
Yeah, well, we're talking about permit, and seeing as how most of the permit caught in our state are caught in South Florida, and you do a lot of permit fishing, I figured that you'd probably be the best one to tell them how to do it, because I've only caught one, and that was by accident.
So you want me to tell them how to do it, or you got some questions? What do you want?
Well, yeah, first off, we'll tell them a little bit about permits. Permits a member of the jack family, and all jacks are known for one thing, and that's pulling hard,
Right.
and even a little jack will pull hard, and they've got that great big tail, a big lyrical tail, and a wide, thick body, so when they get sideways on you, they can really pull hard, and especially when they get big, and they can get up to 50 pounds in the state of Florida. We get some great big ones if you're fishing up in the Lake Worth area, Fort Lauderdale, both on the little nearshore wrecks and in the inlet right there. They love to be in those channels and passes sometimes in certain times of the year, and you can catch great big permits. And evidently they say they're good to eat. Some people like to eat those things. A lot of guys let them go because they're a sport fish, but they're supposedly really good to eat as well.
Well, you touched on a couple key things, Dave, and certainly whether you're fishing on the wrecks or whether you're fishing on the flats, it all starts with the rod.
Right.
So here's what I'm gonna say. If you were to use a 7.5 foot spinning rod like this Akuma Shadow Stalker, you can put a 4,000 size series reel like this Helios, load it up with some Suffix 10 or 12 pound 832. Now, here's the key. A 7.5 foot rod is what you want to use if you're fishing the wrecks, because they're big schools of fish. They're usually up on the surface. And what that does is it allows you to throw a lot further.
A long way.
Doesn't have to be a real accurate cast. In both cases, guys, whenever you make that cast, you want to crash the crab literally within 3 or 4 feet of the fish's face, so that you get the reaction bite.
Just like a cobia.
Okay, now if you're gonna fish on the flats, which that's what we do a lot in the Florida Keys and certainly in Biscayne Bay.
They're a lot real skitty-ish up there too, aren't they?
Yeah, you're gonna fish in the high phases of the tide, last 3 hours of the incoming, the first hour of the falling tide. You're gonna use a 5/0 circle hook in either case. You're gonna hook the crab in the side, but the key is you'll put either a split shot on here or you can go without a split shot. Now this is a VMC 7385 circle hook. In both cases with the braided line, you wanna make sure that you put a trace, I like about 4 or 5 feet of 20 pound fluorocarbon. You can go up to 25. It seems like with that big black eye they have, that if you go to 30 pound, you might not get the bite.
Especially in clear, clean water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you gotta still have some stealthiness in your game. Now, on the flats, the reason why I use a 7 foot spinning rod like this one, this is gonna be a new Ricky Red Rod series that's coming out from Akuma. The reason I like the 7 footer, Dave, is because on the flats, that's where the accuracy counts. You really have to, now you don't have a school of 300 fish.
You got one or two.
150 fish or 20 fish. You got 1 or 2, they're up there tailing, they're up there mudding. And so that cast has to be very accurate. A 7 foot rod's gonna allow you to be more accurate. A 7.5 foot rod is gonna allow you to cast a lot further.
Now, is there any places when you start to go to look for these fish? Are they on certain flats, or can you find them just about anywhere? Is there just deeper flats or shallower ones?
Good question. A lot of the flats are in and around a channel, so that when the tide falls, they have the ability not to have to move very far. They can slide down into that channel. And on the lower phases of the tide, you can often pull down the edge of the channel, and you'll see them laying up in a white hole, waiting, staging for the tide to get high enough.
Do they hang around channel markers and stuff? I've heard that they'll do that sometimes.
I never experienced that,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. I certainly am just not looking for, a permit around a channel marker, because if I hook him there, that usually can become a real significant problem.
Gotcha.
Well, hey, man, thank you. That
no,
was
thank
fun
you.
for me. That was really fun for me. And speaking of fun, I know Bree knows about catching permit and having fun doing it. So what do you got, Bree?
That was so much fun. Oh, man. Seeing the actual permit eat the crab was really cool, too. We had super clean water that day, so that was awesome. Up next is our trusty captain, Jeff Page, in the StarTron Central West region. So let's hear what we can expect for this week. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Rick, Bree, in the StarTron Central West region, our permit bite is in full swing right now, and you know what? Actually, it has been since last fall. With the weak winter that we had this year, the fish never really moved south, and they've stayed on the nearshore wrecks and reefs right on through this summer. Our typical permit runs from 12 to 30 pounds and can be found on these wrecks and reefs anywhere from 3 miles out to 15. And look for them on top early in the morning, especially if it's slick calm. But that doesn't mean if it's windy that you're not going to catch them. The key has been to get to these wrecks or reefs or structure that they're holding on and get your boat positioned off of them far enough, like Rick said, that you can make a nice long cast, not to disturb the fish, but allow that crab to get over there with the current or the wind or both and allow them to float over them. Sometimes guys will put a small split shot just above the hook to get that crab to go down if he's wanting to stay up and the fish are down. Try using 25 or 30 pound Suffolk Invisalign fluorocarbon with a light wire 3/0 circle hook. Live smaller pass crabs are the best bait, but if you're not able to get crabs, try live free line shrimp, works well. Or also in the lures, the U-Pro flat jig in pink and white or yellow and white in the 3/8 weight has worked real well. I've got a permit photo tonight of Captain Billy Ahlstrom of Suncoast Fishing Charters with a big permit he got last week.
That's a nice fish. Good job there, Billy. What else you got for us, Paige?
All right, offshore red snapper with the red snapper season extended. Lots of red snappers have been doing, lots of captains have been doing real well with the American red snapper. Seems like 80 feet on out has been the range for your better sized fish, and they've been holding over hard bottom and structure, and you really don't need live bait, Rick. It's not bad to bring some pinfish, but guys are doing just as well with frozen sardines and squid, and cut pilchards or thread fins work just as well. Remember, don't stay in one area too long. If you're not getting a bite after, say, 15, 20 minutes, move to a different number. Give each area, say, 20 to 30 minutes, and then move on to the next. You're going to get your limit, no problem, and don't be surprised if you pick up some red groupers or even a gag while you're red snapper fishing. I've got a photo tonight of a happy Tampa Bay Rays fan with Captain Eric White of Legacy Charters out of Venice Crow's Nest. Moving inshore, Species 1, tarpon with the full moon here and gone. Lots of tarpon pushed offshore to spawn, but there's still some good tarpon action along the beach. The schools are broken up, and guys are doing a lot better fishing thread fins or pinfish under a cork, even dead menhaden on the bottom. Not to say not to look for fish early, schools early, laid up, but guys are doing a lot better getting out around 9, 10 in the morning and working areas, maybe anchoring up or hitting their spot lock and just working areas that they're seeing a fish here or a fish there with cork baits or dead baits. Guys that are using artificials, try throwing the DOA Bait Buster in silver and green or the new Saltwater Assassin Salty Snack rigged on a long shank 3/8 ounce jig head in that new snowstorm pattern, which is pretty much a white, kind of a white, pearl white color. I've got a tarpon photo tonight of a happy client with the legend out of Fort DeSoto, Captain Rob Gorda. And last but not least, snook bite still remains strong, and it's the mainstay in our Central West region with lots of fish being caught along the beaches and in the passes, also in the bays and estuaries. Rick, the key's been not to look for them up too shallow. The water's gotten up in that 90 degree, 88 degree that quick, and the fish are holding in that 4 to 8 foot water, clean, hard sand bottom. Gasparilla Pass, Stump Pass, Venice Jetties, all proved to be really good spots, especially on that late afternoon outgoing hillside. Try using live pilchards or live grunts or pinfish. And I've got a snook photo tonight of Don Christmas, that's his name, with Captain Will Osborne out of Cortez, Florida.
Well, Merry Christmas there, Don. That's a nice big snook you caught there. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck Central West hotspots that Captain Page says this weekend we should go inshore for Pompano. Nice pomps have moved into the deeper flats off of Bishop Harbor south to Joe Island. You're gonna throw a 3/8 yellow Euro flats jig, and then offshore, permit holding on the wrecks and reefs in 7 to 11 mile range off of Bradenton Beach.
Merry Christmas. I'm sure he's never heard that one before, right?
Yeah.
But good one.
He did good.
Are you ready for this? We have another star winner.
Come on.
Come on, man. Congratulations to Jeff Miller of Bartow, Florida. He caught the third winning tagged redfish on July 2nd in Citrus County and has chosen the 2017 Sea Hunt Boat Yamaha Combo. And another tagged redfish was caught in Brevard County with Captain John Lillay, but his clients were not registered or CCA members. Wah, wah. There are still 3 remaining tagged redfish prize packages: GMC Sierra Pickup, Maverick, and the Carolina Skiff with Yamaha and trailer, plus 2 youth anglers who catch a tagged redfish will win a Carolina Skiff with Yamaha and trailer. There is still time to register. Start ends September 4th, so make sure you get registered, become a member. Okay, we've got more coming your way, guys, so stay tuned if you're fishing in the Keys or the Central East region this weekend. And we're also talking with a special guest from Wet Sounds. We will be right back on the Chevy Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
Woo.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, there's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Hello, welcome. So Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
Oh gosh, a lot of pressure.
You ready? Go.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelly Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Ranking. 10 Best blah blah blah.
2017 IIHS Top Safety.
Only about 90 more to go.
2016 2017 North American Car of the Year.
That's a lot of awards.
Who would have thought?
Great, now I'm gonna have to go buy a new car.
Well, welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. And as you can see, we have a guest, Chris Woodard. And Chris, tell me, you know, we're always considering new audio components for our boat.
Absolutely.
So tell me some of the things and rules of thumbs that we should probably follow.
So mainly you want to start with the size of your boat. There's so many different things you can do nowadays on audio for a boat. On your smaller skiffs, we've got a sound bar. This is our Stealth 6 Ultra. It's Bluetooth. Built-in amplifier, 6 speakers, pretty much plug and play music. You can hear it while you're running, 300 watt built-in amp, so it's gonna sound great. You step up to your bigger boat, say your bay boat, like the Pathfinder over there. You can step up to your 6.5s. We have 6.5s, 8s, and 10-inch coaxials now. That's when you can go in.
This is what you put in my boat?
Yes, that is correct.
Cool.
So that's gonna be our Revo 6.5.
Now, one of the complaints that I had originally, not before you guys, but in past systems, when I was running 40 miles an hour, I could never hear the music because it wasn't amplified.
Correct, so that's where our amplifiers come in.
So is there a certain size amplifier that you need for a bay boat?
Yes and no. It really depends on how many speakers you want to go with. You want to do a basic 4-speaker system, you can do a 4-channel amplifier, put minimal power to it, and it'll still sound great.
Awesome. All right, so now what about if we got a big boat, a sport fish, a big center console contender? What are we thinking about here?
You're going to have a lot more room to play with there than you are on a little skiff. So that's where our 10-inch coaxials come in. We have a bigger line of amplifiers that put out a lot more power. You can start adding subwoofers, even tower speakers to the T-top if you want to go that crazy with it.
All right, quickly, salt water. Pretty tough on our products.
Absolutely.
So what have you guys done at Wet Sounds to make sure that we get longevity?
We have done a lot of research on sealing a speaker. Now the back of our speaker, our complete crossover system is completely sealed. Also, you'll notice we have a sealed plug that goes for your speaker wires, and all of our speakers have built-in RGB lighting, so they have a completely sealed plug also. So everything on that speaker is going to be sealed.
If we want to know more about audio systems, how do we get in contact with
Wetsounds.com is going to be the quickest way to do it.
Man, I'm so much smarter than I was a minute ago. I appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you guys having me.
What do you think about making some pretty noise?
I think that sounds great. The Florida Keys are loaded with fantastic permit fishing, especially this time of year, so listen up as Captain Randy Tao tells you how to get them.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, permit fishing right now has been pretty strong, especially in the backcountry around Islamorada. But we get them in Marathon, we get them in Key West, and we get them in Key Largo. And a lot of the bayside flats right now on the flood tide, you got to remember timing is real critical. On the top of the tide, when that water is at its highest and the current is at its peak, seems to be the time you're going to find these permits. And in some places, you're going to see them up on the surface, especially on those calm mornings. You'll see them pushing a wake, and there might be 30 or 40 fish in the school. You're going to see them coming, and you want to get a live crab right in the middle of them, and you're probably going to get a bite. Now, we also catch them on rocky patches and shallow wrecks on the edge of the Gulf and the West Coast. And out there, a lot of times you'll see these fish on the surface from half a mile away. So you want to be ready when you're going to these spots. Have your spinning rods, have your crabs ready, so that when these fish pop up, you can do something about it, especially if you got that good sunlight where you can see them. I've got a couple of photos, one with Captain Adam and his buddy Oren from Tampa with a doubleheader we caught, and then I have another photo, Captain Brian Williams with Serenity Charters and his angler, Mitch and Kyle Dossier from North Carolina.
Nice. All right, tell us about the snook, Pop.
Snook fishing, you know, the snook bite's been great, and right now it's been good, and a lot of guys are doing it. So the timing, getting in on it at the right time, the right tree, the right shoreline, and live bait is key right now. Pinfish, pilchards, finger mullet, if you can find them, and a lot of guys are finding them on the incoming tide. Now, whatever tide you have in the morning hours are certainly more conducive for success, because the afternoons are really hot, the weather's been calm, and that outgoing tide's been tough to get them to bite. But your morning fishing has been best, and especially on some of these shorelines with a 1/4 ounce to a 3/8 ounce jig head on a live bait like that up against these shoreline spots has been very good. Rising tide is what the guys have been liking, but that's going to depend on what day you go in the morning. But I've got a picture from Captain Brian Williams again with his angler, Mitch Gossier, with a nice snook.
Well, before we go any further, let's take a look at the Navionics. Now, certainly, the Florida Keys is a great place to catch permits. So we're going to start off by looking at the Marquesas here on the Navionics, the Platinum Plus, as you can tell with the satellite overlay. But one thing that happens when we zoom in here, guys, is that I see all the contours using the sonar charts and the fishing chip in my unit. The great part about this is it's very defined to me exactly where I want to be poling. Remember, high phases of the tides is when these permit are going to invade the beautiful place like the Marquesas off of the Key West. All right, Randy, what do you got for us offshore?
You know, the yellowtail bite this time of year is really strong, and guys are going early, sunrise, getting in a few hours in the morning, and if you've got the conditions with a little bit of current in about 80 feet of water, get your chum going. And the big secret is be patient. Don't try to start fishing a bunch of lines right off the bat. Let these fish come up, let them get happy, and if you rotate with one rod at a time, you're going to catch your limit before you know it. And some of these fish have been averaging 2 to 3 pounds, and it's just important to not be in a hurry. And if you put more lines in the water, what happens is you keep the fish down. You don't let them get up to you. And when they're closer to you, they're much easier to catch. And Captain James Chappell, with his boat Catch a Lot of Fish at a Worldwide Sportsman, a photo of a limit of yellowtail he catches on a regular basis.
Nice. Those are some nice yellowtails, Randy. All right, what else? You got any more snappers for me?
Mutton snappers, you know, for some reason, just like the permit in the bay, the mutton snappers have been biting on the reef. They've been biting on the deeper wrecks. Live ballyhoos, live pilchards have been working really well. And depending on where you are, if you happen to be yellowtailing, you can drop a bait down on anchor. Or if you're out in the deeper water, I like drifting with enough lead to get to the bottom and just cover some ground till you find these fish. They might be in 150 or 200 feet. And one guy that does it extremely well is Captain Jack Carlson with Two Conchs Charters and Big Time Bait and Tackle out of Marathon. I've got a picture of his junior angler, Kane, with an 18-pound mutton snapper that was just short of a world record.
Wow.
All right, Randy, great report. Good luck while you're fishing over there in the Bahamas. We appreciate you calling in, and guess what? We're going to take a second and look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. Captain Randy says inshore permit, fish the top of the tide in the bay, look for waking schools and tailors, use quarter-sized crabs on a light to medium spinning rod, and then offshore yellowtails anchor in 80 feet, start chumming, and be patient. When you get the yellowtails up, use one rod at a time to catch your limit, Bree.
Happy tails.
Happy
to you.
You heard him say that. Happy yellowtails.
Tails. Get them happy. There's always tournaments happening in the Keys, so let's see what's coming up. More than 40 species of fish are targeted during the Key West Fishing Tournament, continuing through November 30th. There is no entry fee, and participants receive citations and qualify for prizes. The Upper Keys Lionfish Derby, scheduled for July 28th and 29th, enables teams of up to 4 divers to compete for cash and prizes to remove the most, largest, and smallest invasive lionfish. The Upper Keys Derby is to be based at John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park in Key Largo. The Robert James Slam Celebrity Tournament is set for September 8th through the 10th in Key West. In the first of 3 tournaments in the annual Redbone Celebrity Tournament series, anglers target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flats Grand Slam. Redbone events raise funds for cystic fibrosis treatment and research. And if that's not enough tournament for you, Andy Newman has more, so let's hear it, Andy.
Well, hi guys. Back in the 1930s, Ernest Hemingway not only lived and wrote in Key West, he also loved to fish there as well. And it's in that spirit that the Havana Club Key West Marlin Tournament is set for July 19th to the 22nd. This is more than just a fishing tournament. It's part of the annual Hemingway Days Festival. The most noted part of the festival is a Sloppy Joe's Hemingway look-alike contest staged at the author's favorite watering hole. There's more details at keywestmarlin.com. And for more information on Hemingway Days and all tournaments in the Florida Keys, go to flakeys.com.
Those are some happy Hemingways, man.
Man, we need to go to that, Bree.
We do.
That was
That'd be so much fun. I'd love
like
that.
Going to a Santa Claus convention.
Merry Christmas. If you're lucky and listen to Captain Jim Ross very carefully in the Bells Central East region, you might be able to get a permit on the end of your line this weekend. Let's hear it, Jim.
That's right, Bree. You know, permit aren't very abundant throughout the entire region, but we do get some of these fish in the spring and summer times in the middle and south portion of my region. So the springtime fish are normally landed by anglers that are targeting pompano while they're surf fishing, and they're using fiddler crabs, sand fleas, and little pompano jigs a lot of times. And the smaller fish mix in with those pompano just outside the surf break in most places. The summer fish are bigger adult specimens, and they hold on the wrecks outside of Sebastian and sometimes get up outside of Canaveral as well. Now, later in the summer and sometimes even into the fall, we do get Sebastian inlet fish as well that feed on crabs as they're flowing out with the tide. And the inlet fish are generally the most aggressive of the permit in my region. And the reason is because they're in those feeding lanes waiting for those crabs to come through right at the end of the main jetty there. And when the crabs flow through, they come up and, you know, they're intent on eating. And so the spooky fish that we generally associate permit with, you know, being, they just go crazy sometimes, and they're almost like Jack Crevalle. I mean, if they see a crab coming through, they lose their mind, and they just start eating on it. So they get pretty stupid when they see a crab come by, and that's the kind of fish we like, happy, hungry, stupid fish. Now, if you're fishing the fish on the shallow wrecks, they will get this way once in a while as well, but you're going to have live crabs to catch them. And those fish are going to generally run right around 10 to 25 pounds, and some of those fish will even get up into the 40-pound mark. Those spring fish that I was talking about are the ones that are running with the pompano. Those little beach fish are typically 2 to 6 pounds. Every once in a while, you'll get an 8-pounder. Now, the fish that we have that we do catch on a regular basis and we really enjoy catching is redfish, and redfish have been really good again this week. Captain Troy Perez, Captain Scott McAllis, Captain John Lulay have all been doing very good in the south end of Mesquite Lagoon. Soft plastic jerkbaits like the Saltwater Assassin 5-inch shad in the watermelon red flake or the native shrimp color pattern seem to be two of the better choices right now because we're starting to get a little color in the water now that we've had some rain up here. Also, small weedless spoons are starting to work very well because there are some areas that have a little bit of turbidity to them, and those spoons seem to be really taken off in the last week or two from some of the guys that I've talked to, especially once that afternoon sea breeze kicks in and makes a little chop on top of the water. Our average redfish in the Mesquite Lagoon is running from about 2 to about 6 pounds right now. Now, swinging offshore, tarpon are still running up and down the beaches, and you guys and gals know how we love our tarpon here. We just fish for them differently than some of the other places. We don't really have them stacked at the inlets or at a pass, so we generally find good areas of bait where it's holding along the beaches like pogies, pilchards, and glass minnows, and then we fish around those bait pods, either slow trolling or drifting. Now, right now, the tip of Cape Canaveral has been pretty hot. Also, between Cocoa Beach and Satellite Beach, there's a big group of bait fish down there. We're getting a lot of shots at fish down there. In fact, even recently as today, we had fish on that were over 100 pounds. Most of those fish are running from about 50 to 80, though. There's some smaller fish, some smaller males in there right now, but there are some of those big females also showing up. And the other species that are running with them are bonita and jacks and various other things. And I've got a nice picture of Bill Stratton here with a jack that he landed the other day. And you can see we're fishing very, very close to the beach, so you don't have to go far to find these fish. They're generally just outside the breakers, right on the outside edge of the bait pods. Now, the last species that we have for this week is the mangrove snapper, and of course, you know, those full moons in June, July, and August are the best times to catch these fish, especially on the wrecks and reefs that are in 60 to 120 feet of water. Now, what you want to do is you want to get that 5-fish limit, but to get them, it's kind of like what Randy was saying. You have to kind of, don't bum rush the fish. Get them chummed up, get them happy, get them eating cut chunks of bait as you're floating back to them, and then every once in a while slide a hook in one and let that thing slide on back with a bunch of other chum, and that's how you're going to get those snapper. If you're out at night, it's not nearly as hard to catch them. The full moons are the best times to catch them, and we've just had this one that just went by, so the next couple of nights are still going to be good, but then it's going to roll around to a daytime bite again. Our average mangrove snapper is running 2 to 5 pounds, but we're getting fish to 10 pounds on a consistent basis right now on those reefs and wrecks.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the sea sucker hotspots from the Central East region. Inshore, snook, and all 3 inlet jetties. You're going to use live croakers on a standard bottom rig for those guys. And then offshore, king mackerels in 40 to 90 foot depth. Use live pilchards, pogies, or greenies on a wire stinger rig.
Well, we have more regions and more fishing to do here, so stick around if the Southwest region sounds like a good idea to you. And then we're headed to the CCA workbench with Dave for new products, which is always a good idea, right, Dave?
It's going to be a special one, all stuff from Rapala.
Hey.
Big Rapala new products today.
They have lots of categories.
Lots of good
Dave?
stuff. Line,
Back
lures,
with everything Rapala.
jigs, everything.
Okay, Dave.
You name it.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Soft Science, supreme comfort footwear. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Real legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Hey, how do you like your contender? How do I like my contender?
What's not to like? Dude, I just saw a contender, and man, I gotta get me one.
So hey guys, I tell you, over my career I've seen a lot of really cool things like the power pole, remote control trolling motors, but one of the coolest things that I've seen recently is the greatest grilling, portable grilling product that I've ever seen. It's called the Fire Disc. Now the Fire Disc, if you guys ever cooked on an iron skillet, this is essentially what the Fire Disc really is. It's a 22-inch disc with handles, and it's very, very portable. Now I store this up in the bow hatch of my Pathfinder, as well as I've stored it in the bow hatch of the Maverick. And when it comes to doing shore lunches, which really makes the day of fishing fun, or maybe you're going sandbarring with mama, now you have the ability to have a hot lunch. We're gonna simply use the little Coleman propane portable little tanks. You can use obviously your big propane tank if you want, but when you can buy 2 of these at your local grocery store, it's essentially crazy to have to carry that big tank around. We'd light it here, then put our disc on there. So I really like the fact that I can cook wings, fry it, use it as a fryer. If you like iron skillets, it's a lot like that. It's a 22-inch surface that actually gets 3 cooking zones. Got the center, which is high, the outer side, which would be considered medium, and then you have low. And the great part about this is that you can cook fish, clams, pork chops. I've done breakfast. You know, bacon sometimes can really be a problem because you can never find something large enough to cook a whole slab of bacon. The Fire Disc has simply made that real easy. It's got these big sturdy handles, and it's real easy to clean. So whether you're thinking about tailgating at your NFL football game, college football game, you can cook your sausages, your brats on there, as well as you want to do a shore lunch out in the boat. The cool part about this is from weekend to weekend, you can carry the Fire Disc wherever you want to go. And it's really easy as 1, 2, 3 putting it together. So keep that in mind. The next time you're thinking about grilling, the ultimate grilling tool is certainly the Fire Disc. Well, we're here at the CCA workbench talking about products. We had the Fire Disc on here a few weeks ago, and now we're going to start with...
Well, we got Rapala stuff.
Cool
you know, all the stuff from Rapala and Storm and Suffix, all the companies under that Rapala umbrella. And we're going to start off with some of the new colors with some of the hard baits. And this is the twitching mullet, and that's the new pinfish color. Look at that thing.
Isn't that crazy how that shit looks like?
They're making these things look more and more realistic every year. And the fish don't stand a chance.
How about
you don't even have to go throw a net to get live baits anymore. They're always right there when you go to buy them in the store. It's
mangrove
crazy.
minnow.
The mangrove mullet, minnow, and then we've got the mullet.
Yeah.
There's a mullet down in here.
Here's the mullet. Oh yeah. The mullet
that's the
color.
pinfish. This is the twitching mullet with the mullet color. Look at that.
Look at that.
Blueback.
Isn't that beautiful?
Right.
Man, I can't wait to throw that in the fall on the beach. Come on. Come on.
That's going to be a killer.
Bring it to daddy.
And, you know, they've got the inline hooks on them now. A lot of the baits, you know, the inline VMCs, so you don't have to tear a fish apart to let him go, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a really good thing.
They got a pilchard color.
That's right. It's a good thing that we've started to go to that. That's a nice big
Isn't that
pilchard
pretty inside
for the
there?
long cast X-Wrap there.
Yeah, man.
So,
all right, Dave, what else we got?
On to the Suffix. This is the new color, and this is called a coastal camo. And they're going to be putting this out in 1 pound spools, 5 pound spools, you know, big spools, big bulk spools of line. But this is the new camo, coastal camo color, and it's, you know, shades of blue and white, and it's supposed to match the color of the water and the sky, and try to mask the line from the fish, and you know, can't hardly beat that Suffix braid.
It's still the 832.
Yep, still Suffix 832.
Eight strands of braid.
Incredibly
32 weaves
small
per
diameter, incredibly strong. I mean, it's even hard to test how strong this stuff comes out. It says 15-pound test. I bet you it breaks it a lot higher than that.
All right, Dave.
Now these are the new Storm. You know, I like Storm products because I'm a big chug bug guy, but these are the new Storm soft baits. They're the coastal soft baits, the Storm 360 GTs. And that one there you got in your hand is called the trick tail. And you see a lot of swim baits will have a tail that's vertical, and this has a horizontal, and it's got a little web in there. And what it does is it makes it bounces out the bait. It makes it stay true to its its orientation in the water. And it doesn't flop around a whole lot, and really adds a lot of stabilization to it.
Comes with a hook and 4 tails.
Yep, 4 tails. That's I think that comes with an
VMC.
1/8 ounce. I mean, weighted hook, and they come in. You know, they got all kinds. They got the beautiful little shrimp there,
Right, shrimp.
And the paddle tail as well. This is called the mangrove minnow as
Right.
well. And again, they all come with a coastal black VMC hook or jig head, and you know, if you're going to throw a soft bait, you might as well throw some
Pretty work,
360 GTs. And right here, we got some Williamston flutter jigs, and these are a little different than a lot of the flutter jigs you see. They're short and squat versus real long and skinny. And what this does is they have a center weight, but they're asymmetrical. And what it does is it makes them flutter like crazy. And they're beautiful colors on that one as well. Be careful, don't hook yourself. The hooks here are razor sharp as usual on Williams and stuff. These are called the coquillas, and they're 9 ounce, 3.5, and 5 ounce.
Shape. You know, it's shaped like a diamond.
It's kind of like a diamond jig.
Yeah.
But they're a center
But
weight,
then-
but they're a little offset, and when they come down, every jerk of the rod tip, it comes up, and then it flutter, and up, and then flutter, and it stays again. It doesn't. It's not doing the diving or the tail. It's fluttering just.
Here's the $1 million question.
Yes, sir.
When you tie on, do you tie to the solid ring or do you tie to the split?
I always tie to the split ring, but I'm probably wrong.
Always tie to this.
I got you. Well, there you go.
But specifically, they have some other models of Vortex jig and whatnot that have the swivel bent in.
Right.
I've tried it both ways. I want you to know I get more bites by tying to this because then it allows this to swivel more.
I got you.
When we tie to this, now what ends up happening is the hook's laying here, and I believe that gets in the way of the action of the thing.
I got you.
That's my opinion. Just an opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what, for our Bennett product this week, you want to get the Z-Mac engine and transmission. The Z-Mac engine is $14.95 at Bennett because it's got the $3 rebate on it. It's right there, that little coupon that comes with there. Transmission thing's only $8.95. Both of these will help you keep your car running stronger, longer, extend your life, and reduce heat and friction. So
yep, go to your local
Bennett
store
Auto
and
Parts.
get it. That's right.
Z-Max.
All right,
Well,
Bree.
if you're missing that jig, I'm apologizing in advance, and I took it. Captain Ronnie Houston is checking in with us from the Bell Southwest region with some species to get through. So, Ronnie, let's get to it, and I'm going to go take a jig.
Well, I better watch what I say. I don't want to get in any trouble over here. But anyways, the permit are mostly targeted on the offshore side, generally all the time on this side. Structure is going to be the key. The most common place would start would be the wrecks, and then you can look on rock piles, head pins. You know, you can go as close as 5 miles and out as far as 60 miles. Now, throughout the whole region, depending upon how our winter is, early spring, and then depending upon how hot our summer gets and it doesn't start to cool down, you can fish for these fish all the way into fall. Now, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You can either anchor up or simply drift across. Now, the best bait's going to be a live crab, free-lined, weighted, or under a cork, depending upon how these fish are located in the water column. And if you're anchored up on a wreck, probably one of the best ways to fish for these fish, because they're going to go towards the structure, try to get them away and use an anchor ball. You can unclip, chase the fish down, and then get back to the structure and clip back up, probably in about the same area where you caught that first fish. These fish will also travel in schools, and a lot of times you can see them out in open water in big schools traveling from wreck to wreck. You know, to get started, I would try to recommend a 5,000 series reel. I'm a big Akuma guy. The Akuma Azores has a really good drag. That'd be a really good place to start, especially for the price of that reel. 30 to 60 pound fluorocarbon, open water, 30 pound. If you're fishing tight structure, as much as 60 pounds, 30, 40 pound braid. Always be using circle hooks and other baits to include, artificial soft plastic shrimps, live shrimps, but always have a variety of bright colored bucktails, and you want to tip those with shrimp. Average size fish is anywhere from 15 to 30 pounds, and I've got a photo down in the southern end of the region fishing with Captain Brian Sanders, Ben Brown, and Lazaro Sid. Those are so common size fish that are caught generally from May to about September. Now, on the offshore side, we've had some good weather in the last couple weeks. Light winds, southerly, southeasterly winds. We've been getting some rains, but it's been hot and humid. The triple tails, good time of year to start. There'll be a spawn coming on here soon. Marco de Sanibel with moderate weather. This is going to be a run-and-gun bite, guys. Fish near-shore wrecks, head pins, crab pots, and swim buoys. Now, when you're fishing these wrecks, you're going to look for these fish drifting through some kind of a current break, so keep an eye on that. But most of the other time, you're going to be running and gunning until you see them around the areas I've mentioned. Make sure when you see these fish, you double back around, cast up current, bring the bait to the triple tail. A strong hook is really recommended. And you can catch these fish right now with live shrimp, small pilchards, bucktails, and a variety of 3 to 4 inch soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails. Make sure you get a precise cast and bring it right to them. Now, on the inshore side, the redfish, Estero Bay area to Wiggins Pass. You want to concentrate on these sides, the last half of the incoming to the first half of the outgoing, along independent islands and the whole east wall along the areas I've mentioned. All this rain has improved the bite, especially with all the rain we have. You want to concentrate on feeder creeks with freshwater flow. That's going to be dumping out from the east. That's a good place to start. These fish are waiting for a variety of baits to be flushing out. Live pilchards, pinfish, cut mullet in the heat of the day, ladyfish. But gold spoons and top water, walk the dog lures on the lower stages of the tide, and look for the mullet schools. Good combination to catch those fish. And I've got another picture, caught while fishing with Captain Brian Sanders down south with Rob Rollins. Nice oversized redfish there. Now the snooks, nighttime bite, fishing intercoastal docks and seawalls from Estero Bay, Cape Coral area, and Punta Gorda. Now you want to concentrate on midnight until dawn. That's a great time to be fishing for these fish right now. You have to find good moving water. That's going to be your best bet. Now, in the slacker areas or dead-end canals without a lot of current, there's plenty of juvenile tarpon in some of these areas, especially with all the freshwater flow we've been having. Soft plastic shrimp, root beer, glow, golden brim bass assassins, or white bucktails, 3 to 4 inch lip plugs, and white or chartreuse. Also live shrimp free line. In my opinion, I listen to Dave Farrell.
All right, thank you so much, Ronnie. A great report from the Bell Southwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Inshore, mangrove snapper, Goodland to West Pass, fishing Middle Bay, shorelines, and independent islands around the Deadwood on the middle tide using live shrimp, pilchards, and bucktails tipped with shrimp inshore. And then offshore, red grouper stump pass to Fort Myers Beach, fishing hard bottom using cut herring, squid, and a sardine, Bree.
I think Ronnie meant he ties to the center ring, not to the top one. That's what he meant. He's going to get in trouble by Papa. We know you've been waiting Northwest and Panhandle regions, so we're bringing you your captains next right here on the Chevy Florida
Insider Fishing Report.
Such a good team.
Yes.
We'd look good in that Chevy right there, wouldn't we?
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
Hello, welcome. So Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
Oh, gosh. A lot of pressure.
You ready? Go.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Breaking 10 Best blah, blah, blah.
2017 IIHS Top Safety.
Only about 90 more to go.
2016 2017 North American Car of the Year.
That's a lot of awards.
Who would have thought?
Great, now I'm gonna have to go buy a new car.
Flagler Construction Equipment is your certified Takeuchi equipment dealer, servicing 55 counties in Florida. With Takeuchi, you get brute strength combined with bulletproof durability. That means low downtime and optimal production. Flagler Construction Equipment is the partner for all your Takeuchi sales, service, and rental needs, and your first and last stop for legendary customer service and support. Pros know Takeuchi. Get to know Flagler Construction Equipment by stopping by one of our 6 locations or visit us on the web at www.flaglertakeuchi.com.
It's a good thing you're back because I know this captain in the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region is super excited about this week's species. So Jeff, express yourself.
Tell you what, they are one of my favorite next to a tarp. They pulled great drag. They're a fun fish. They're inshore. They're offshore. What a great fish. We've got some great permit fishing in my region. We've got some really big fish, some 30 to 45 pound fish. Usually show up at the beginning of April or the end of March. In pretty good numbers, but on reefs and wrecks and structures. But our schoolie fish, which is a majority of our fish, are those 15 to 20 pounders. They're usually not far behind that big school of the bigger fish that show up first in that end of April. And those little fish come in and really take over the wreck, and they're really out there in numbers. They're looking for a lot of food. Crabs are their favorite. I know everybody's been talking about that. But those smaller fish are usually the majority of our fish, and they'll show up in schools at 50 up to 200 fish. Dollar-sized crabs, like everybody's been talking about, are the best bait you have. It's really worth the time to spend a little bit more time to catch your bait to go out there. If you're not quite prepared and you're taking out shrimp, sometimes they'll eat them, sometimes they won't. But a crab, it's really hard for a permit to turn down that crab dinner. 25 to 40 pound Suffolk Explorer carbon leader is a must. They have really, really good eyesight. You want to get away with the smallest circle hook you can possibly get away with, anywhere from a 2/0 to a 4/0. And like I said, an 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce jig head, chartreuse color with a tail hook shrimp will sometimes work, but is not always a guarantee, especially when you got them swimming around the boat and you're casting at them. It's not always a guarantee you're going to catch them. Another great tip for permit fishing. I usually start off with a really, really light drag, and then I'll be on a spot lock on my trolling motor, and then I'll break away and then drift back with the fish or follow them with the trolling motor, then tighten my drag up. That'll get you away from the wreck because you're usually going to make a long searing run in one direction if you have a light drag. And then you won't have to worry about him digging straight down. If you've got a heavy drag, you can go right down in the wreck and then break you off. So I usually like to either drop an anchor line or follow them on my trolling motor, get them away from the wreck, and then tighten down the drag. That's a little tip that will help you from losing a few of those guys. But got a nice photo of me and Christina with a couple nice permit.
Aww,
cute. Those permit almost kissing. That's so nice. All right, what else you got for us inshore there, Pop?
I'll stay in offshore.
Offshore?
AJ's. Still plentiful in the lower half of my region right now. Reefs, wrecks, and springs, especially those springs right now. Right now, that water temperature, I'm getting reports it's getting even hotter out there, getting into that 89 to 91 degree water temperature even offshore. So 75 to 150 feet. Those springs are really helping keeping those fish a little cooler right now. Spanish sardines and blue runners right now, you want those faster baits because these guys like to chase down their prey. And you might need to downsize your leader a little bit because the fish have been a little bit picky, and right now they're averaging anywhere from 20 to 50 pounds.
All right.
Moving inshore.
Please.
We got snook really concentrated right now around the passes, swash channels, along the beaches. All the small fry bait we've got right now, and sardines. There's male snook are out on the beaches in the swash channel in large numbers, and they're gorging themselves on these baits. So kind of match the hatch, use smaller baits. White bass assassin turbo shad, 1/8 ounce jig head works really good. Those larger females are going to be around the deeper passes and jetties and docks with good moving water. Hand-sized pinfish, grunts, free-lined, or with a 1 ounce lead in the pass, fished under the docks on the outgoing tide. And there's quite a few 40-inch fish being caught frequently. And I've got a photo of a West Coast snook caught recently pass fishing here.
Nice.
Right now, Paul Briscoe reports from the Sunshine Skyway. The mangrove snapper bite has started really spectacular and kind of faded away, but this last weekend they've been catching a bunch more. It's dramatically changed. Mangrove snapper hunters are normally finding more than normal. Fresh cut sardines has been the key. So get them iced down, cut your chunk bait, really like a 1 inch square, 1/4 ounce jig head, or on a 1 aught circle hook, light leader. The thread fins have been working too. They're a little more oily, but they work really well. That heavier flesh on the scaled sardine is working a lot better. Like I said, 1 ounce square, catching a bunch of them right now, and shrimp will work too.
All right, thank you so much.
Averaging anywhere from 15 inches out to 18 inches.
All right, thank you so much, Hag, from the Flagler Construction Equipment Northwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Our captain says inshore, snook along the beaches and passes, use free line pinfish and sardines, and then offshore mangrove snappers on the high relief structure in 10 to 50 feet of water, use a tail hook shrimp or small pinfish on a knocker.
Well, we're dropping our line in the Panhandle region, talking with Captain Hunter Forbes, filling in for Pat Deneen again this week. Let's hear what Hunter's hunting on the water.
What do you got, Hunter?
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
So, permanents of fish we really don't see much in the Panhandle. If we do, sometimes in the spring they're occasionally caught along the beaches or in the harbors. So we're going to move offshore. We got cobia this week that showed up great. The majority of these fish have been found near the bottom wrecks, with a few along the beaches. If you're bottom fishing, be sure to keep your jig rod handy in case one pops up next to the boat for you. Also, you've been catching them while dropping to the bottom. A lot of these fish have been small, but there's been a few keepers mixed in too. Been finding their way back to the dock. Quite a few stories of big sharks being hooked and brought up to the boat with a bunch of cobias following them up, so keep that in mind. The tarpon guys along the beach have also been finding a few mixed in. Your same tarpon setup usually gets the job done. Just be sure to put a gaff in the boat if it's a nice fish. I got a photo here for you guys of a cobia caught by Captain Roy Stanky. He was just a few miles from the pass in Destin when he had the fish swim up to his boat there.
All right, let's tell me about the AJs.
Yeah, these fish are plentiful around the nearshore wrecks right now. Although the season's closed for them, this is one of the hardest fighting fish we got out there, and they're a lot of fun on light tackle. You want to be sure to check out the barges, the tugboats, and other steel structure that has a lot of relief. You'll usually find those jacks. Because of the closed season, you'll also find some really nice fishing closer to the passes than normal. You shouldn't have a problem catching these fish without dropping a weight, just free-lining your bait. You want to use a fast, active bait such as your hardtails or herring. These fish respond really well to chumming, and I highly recommend doing so. If you want to catch these fish on artificials, try big topwater lures or poppers. And as far as your leaders go, 40 to 60 pounds will usually do the trick for you.
All right, what you got inshore for us this week, Hunter?
We got some mangrove snapper, or here in the Panhandle we call them black snapper. These fish are being caught in all the bays this time of year. You're going to find these fish in the deeper parts of the bays near structure. You're looking at your bridges, your jetties, your deeper docks, and junk piles out there. Your best bait for these are going to be a free-lined or lightly weighted live shrimp or 2 to 3 inch bait fish such as pinfish, spot minnows, and menhaden. These fish respond well to chumming, and it's a lot easier to get your bite that way. I've been doing well with 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 1 aught circle hook. Whatever size hook it is to match your bait, hide it best you can. I'm trying not to use any weights if possible once you get them chummed up to the surface. And if you do have to use something, even down to split shots, just getting the job done. These inshore snapper too, they're a lot smaller than what the Gulf ones are, but they're really great eating fish. And the Other species I got for you is the speckled trout. We've been catching a lot in the Choctawhatchee Bay this past week. One thing I always tell my clients, the best speckled trout fishing is going to be whenever you don't have to wear your glasses, whether it's early in the morning, late in the evening, or those really overcast days. These fish are being found in some skinny water first thing in the morning. As the day progresses, they're making their way out to those ledges and drop-offs in the 5 to 10 foot range. You want to be sure to find some scattered grass or those mud bottoms around docks. For your bait, if you use those smaller 2 to 3 inch menhaden, you're going to be getting a lot more bites, but if you want the gator-sized trout, you want to be throwing a live croaker. These fish also like chumming, so chum heavy to increase your odds, but be careful with chumming with larger baits. This time of year, if a fish eats 1 or 2 of those big baits, they usually fill up fast, shut down on you. And then we're moving over to the last photo. This is one of my clients here with a fine speckled trout. After a few measurements, we released her. Fish was over 27 inches long and right over 6 pounds.
Nice.
So, great fish.
Congratulations there, Cap. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, hit the beaches looking for the tarpon and the bull redfish. And then offshore, plenty of mahi around the grass pastures starting from around 10 miles all the way out to 60 miles. That's a long way, miles.
Long way. All right, we saved the East region for last, but that doesn't mean we love it less. We're running to you next only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. The world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA. Conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Flagler Construction Equipment. Your exclusive Takeuchi dealer. And Okuma. Inspired fishing.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that takes the road less traveled than the road less traveled, and finds the comforts of home extremely uncomfortable. This is for that you.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Hello, welcome. So Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
Oh gosh, a lot of pressure.
You ready? Go.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Ranking. 10 Best blah blah blah.
2017 IIHS Top Safety.
Only about 90 more to go.
2016 2017 North American Car of the Year.
That's a lot of awards. Who would have thought?
Great, now I'm gonna have to go buy a new car.
Hi, I'm Robert Shamlin with JL Marine Systems with your Power Pole tip. Today we're going to talk about the all-new redesigned stern bracket for our 10-foot blade. This new design flexes for an improved wave absorption, and it allows for an increased twist on the anchor without any damage to the transom or the stern bracket. It's constructed from stainless steel and a polymer core, which reduces the weight. It's super strong. It's got non-corrosive brass bearings that stand up to heavy use, even by guides that are on the water every single day, year after year. It's got a pre-assembled rod joint that keeps the anchor assembly very tight, and there's no need for regular bolt tightening and maintenance.
It's also got a powder-coated cover, so it has a nice clean finish with it as well. Also, the new hydraulic hose exits from the top of the bracket, so it's really easy to install either on the port or the starboard side. Next week, we're going to talk all about our new heavy-duty hydraulic hose, and that's your Power Pole tip.
All right, if you want to catch a permit in the East region, Captain Mike Holliday suggests you chill somewhere on a beach or the reefs. Hey, Mike, that was the song.
Hey, Bree, how are you?
Good, feeling
Everything's a song
sing-songy.
in your head, Bree.
Well, you know, it's funny because people don't think of the East region when they think of permit, but we have some of the best permit fishing in the world. And it's not that shallow, flat stuff you find in the Southeast and Keys region. You know, our fish tend to be deeper, out in deeper water around the inlets, like in Fort Pierce and in Lake Worth, and on the beachfront rock piles between Jupiter and Hope Sound, and also in the power plant outflows. And then there's those deep water fish that hold on the wrecks and reefs in 50 to 60 feet of water, like the ones that hold on the sand pile off Stewart. And as usual, permitted crustacean eaters, live crab's going to be your best option, but jumbo shrimp will also work on it, particularly on the smaller fish. You can free line either of those baits on a 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader on a 3.0 VMC tournament circle hook. You can also put them on a saltwater assassin 3/8 ounce chartreuse colored jig head. Chartreuse looks a lot like a crab, or a brown or chartreuse jig works as well. Pitch it in front of the moving fish and hang on. Average for my region, permit in my region is going to be like 15 to 25 pounds, but we get them to like 40 pounds, particularly around the piers like the Lake Worth and Juno Beach Pier. The other stuff we got going on the back of this week's full moon, the local snook population's been pushing into the inlets on the, really big numbers right now. As a rule, the smaller fish are tight to the shoreline. Larger fish are out in the deeper water away from shore. In Palm Beach and Fort Pierce inlets, the majority of fish hold on the south side of the inlet. In Jupiter Inlet, they like to hold on the north side. In St. Lucie, the fish will hold on both sides. And also on that detached jetty on the south side, that seems to have the largest schools of snook. Remember, it's close season. Target these fish at first light with a saltwater assassin 4-inch shad in either copper juice or that new green hornet color. Cast it towards shore, work it out to deeper water. Live pilchards, threadfins, sardines, and croakers are the top baits. Fish everything on a circle hook, so you hook them in the corner of the mouth. Try not to remove the fish from the water. Cigar minnows and mullet will also work. I got a photo there. That's Joe and Sarah Rich with a snook they caught in Stewart, and that fish ate a live goggle eye, so don't be afraid to use other baits.
I like it. Let's go offshore, bub. Speaking of goggle eyes.
The summer sailfish bite is on, and it's as shallow as 35 feet of water and as deep as 300 feet of water. There's a lot of free jumpers and fish cruising the surface, so you want to have a spinning rod, ready to go with a live bait hooked to it at all times. If you see a cruising fish, you can just turn around, grab it, and fire it at the fish. The better concentrations of fish have been in 160 to 250 feet of water between Stewart and Jupiter, but really there's fish stretched out all the way across the entire East region. Live bait's pretty hard to pass up for those sailfish. The guys who are out there live chumming for blackfin tuna and other species, they're seeing sailfish in their chum just about every day right now. When you see one, pitch a live threadfin, a sardine, a pilchard, a blue runner, really just about any bait you can get, and you'd be able to get them bite. Last year I caught one on a live croaker, so you never know. Troll and ballyhoo will also work. The average sailfish is 40 to 50 pounds. And, just remember you don't need a big boat to catch fish. Here's a good example with his photo. Captain Fernando Stalker out of Sea Stalker Charters in Stewart. He used his bay boat to lead his client out to catch sailfish, and that fish ate a live blue runner. Now, the other bite we got going on, if you like to bottom fish, if you're looking to get away from that summer heat, this is a time to head out to the inlet before dark and just head for one of the near-shore, offshore reefs to chase snapper. You can keep it simple, hit the shallow reefs in 20 feet of water or more, like off Fort Pierce or off Peck's Lake, or you can go out to the sand pile off Stewart, the Loran Tower Ledge, a 6-mile reef, really any reef in 65 feet of water along that whole edge. Once you get there, anchor up, chum with glass minnows or ground chum, and then bait up with pilchards, squid, cigar minnows, or sardines. Use a light rod to catch grunts while you're there fishing. And then cut the head and tail off them, create a grunt plug, put it back down on the bottom. A lot of the big snapper, particularly the big muttons, will come on grunt plugs. You also got a good shot at a grouper. Give it 30 minutes or so. If you're not getting bit, move to the next spot. Usually mark fish, and then set up. get that chum line going again. Average mutton snapper, 2 to 4 pounds. Most of the muttons are ranging in that 4 to 10 pound range.
Well, I heard the bass fishing's been really good. What you got, bub?
Well, you know, all this hot weather has a peacock bass fired up in the South Florida canals. So places like the C9, the C15, the C100 canal, they all have fish schooling early along the shorelines. And then the Miami Airport lakes and the ponds of the Florida Turnpike and even some of those E-canals out there are producing a lot of fish right now. If you're looking for the sure bet, live shiners are the way to go. But if you like to throw lures and small topwater plugs or prop baits, that's the way to go. Early, lipless crankbaits in the fire tiger color, they work really well along those box cut canals. Structure's the key, whether it's down trees, rocks, pilings, even pipes or grass. The fish like to cruise the edges of the structure and then ambush the bait. Average peacock's going to be 1 to 3 pounds, fish to 6 pounds in the mix right now.
So Hollywood, I got a question for you, man.
Yeah,
the sail fishing, that sounds like it's really on fire. Those sailfish going to be there all the way till sailfish season starts in October, November? What do you know about that?
I think those fish are coming back north. I think they're moving back north. There's a percentage of them that push out into the deeper Atlantic and circle back around. You know, they move towards Africa and then come back around. But I think these fish are pushing their way back north. We'll have them for probably, maybe 2 or 3 more weeks. And then you'll start hearing about the guys, you know, up coast in Sebastian and Jim Ross's region. And then you'll start hearing about Tommy catching them in his region as they work their way north. So that's my
2 cents
of what we're getting.
All right, I'll see you at ICAST this week. Thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the hot spots from the East region. Inshore, mangrove snappers along the rocks at Fort Pierce Inlet, live shrimp, pilchards, and sand perch during the slack tide, and then offshore, kingfish around the bait schools in Vero Cove, slow troll, live blue runners, or Spanish sardines, Bree.
Well, we're out of regions and out of time, but we want you to stay hooked for just a little longer so we can tell you what our species is for next week. So we will be right back with all those details and more.
Hello, welcome. So Chevy is the most awarded car company 3 years in a row.
Wow.
Really?
Let's see how quickly you can read through all their awards.
Oh gosh, a lot of pressure.
You ready? Go.
2017 Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Kelley Blue Book 2016 Best Resale Value. 2016 JD Power Highest Quality Ranking. 10 Best blah blah blah.
2017 IIHS Top Safety.
Only about 90 more to go.
2015 2017 North American Car of the Year.
That's a lot of awards.
Who would have thought?
Great, now I'm gonna have to go buy a new car.
The ultimate predator has evolved again. Now, Yamaha VMAX SHO Performance is prowling the waters in 4 hungry, exciting new models. With their 4 valves per cylinder and double overhead cam fuel-injected design, these advanced 4-stroke predators are taking performance to a whole new level. Vicious, lean, efficient. VMAX SHO. The pack is growing.
When you're paid to put fish in the boat, you don't mess around with the thing that puts fish in the boat. Always use the best line.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes, special segments, and updated fishing reports from your region right on our homepage. Just head to ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Get excited, guys, because next week we are talking lobsters.
Yummy.
So excited.
Delicious.
Lobster season's
So,
coming up.
Bree, you go lobster diving?
I have, yeah.
all
It's
that
the
stuff?
best. Lobster season,
You
mini
and Dave,
season.
you go do it?
Back in the day, I used to do it a little bit, yeah. I actually got a cool little lobster product for this next show coming up.
Yes,
Guy
you
sent it
did.
to
I remember that. That's going to be cool.
It is cool.
I also think we have the lobster sniffing dog from
Yeah.
FWC's coming in.
Well, somebody's going to have to bring
Show
some
about
lobsters in here, aren't they?
And we can talk about new things we see at ICAST, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm sure there's lots of new stuff we're going to see there.
Yeah,
so.
oh yeah, tons of it.
Can't
Well,
wait.
good show, guys.
Good show,
New
guys.
products will be
Thanks
full
for tuning in.
Yeah.
We will
Coming
see
up.
you next week. and we're talking lobster.
Don't forget to watch Sportsman's
I want some lobster right now.
Adventures.